you know, the Lance Briggs. Those guys need to come back and help set that culture, you know. So that's enough with the Chicago Bears. Hopefully they don't stick it up next year, but look forward to seeing what the new chapter is in 2024. We're going to progress onto the NBA All-Star Weekend that took place in Indianapolis, Indiana. Very good news for the small market teams. You know, I know they took care of business. You know, they built up the infrastructure downtown. They did some renovations to make sure that the people had a very good experience. But when you look at the game itself, what's the word one would say? You can say it in Spanish, and you can say it in English. Trash. Trash, 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 trash. I know everyone's been saying it, but I'm not saying in a trash in a sense of that it wasn't a good product. I just saying trash as in we're settling. We're settling, you know. A lot of people take out time to work jobs, 40 hours a week, travel, spend a lot of money for hotel, transportation, and the tickets to get in these different events and locations. And the NBA let this happen. They let these players water down the game out of fear of being hurt. I get the concept of fear of being hurt. Every time you have the fear of being hurt. Even Stephen A touched on some pieces of you're afraid of getting hurt in the NBA All-Star game, but you playing very, very hard in, you know, pickup runs or summertime runs, you know. You play very, very hard then. But when it comes to the NBA, you don't want to play as hard because you don't want to get hurt. Now, I don't think that's the main reason. I think it's the reason of competitiveness. I think that the competitiveness of the All-Star game has decreased. You know, old school, those guys really hated each other. You know, I saw you, it was smoke, you know. As it kind of got better, you know, Kobe with Jordan, you know, Kobe even to his own competitiveness wanted to go at Jordan in the All-Star game. You know, he even went at Pau Gasol in the Olympics. You know, he kept that competitive edge throughout the league. But you don't really see that coming from, you know, the top tier guys. You know, Draymond Green was up there, but he's a defensive player, so it's hard to get that competitiveness, and he kind of takes it overboard, as you can say, OC. But you don't really have that, you know. Anthony Edwards is on his way up, but a little younger guy. You know, guys are really listening to him because he's still a little pup. But the competitiveness in the All-Star game just comes down to if you hate the guy on the other side of the court during that game or not. You know, it's a lot of buddy, a lot of friendships that go on that probably, you know, people don't want to offend each other. There's certain ways you can make this All-Star game a little bit better. Looking at some of the notes in the All-Star game, first piece is the dunk contest. When you have certain guys like professionals who are making so much money that aren't really willing to be in the dunk contest, maybe they don't want to be criticized or they don't want to be critiqued or, you know, seen as trash, it kind of dilutes it where you have no-name guys or lesser-name guys performing. Now, I'm not going to say that Mac McClung is a no-name guy. You know, an analyst, Jason Davis, put me on his highlights many, many years ago when he was in high school. The man was a walking bucket. But not a lot of people are fans of basketball, similar to how they didn't know Patrick Beverley was a walking bucket for Chicago. You know, when you look at the source of things, Mac McClung is a walking bucket. At 6'2", he was dunking phenom in high school. So it was great to see him get his opportunity to showcase his talent and skills, but it should be a lot more competitive. You know, it's not. You know, Nate Robinson was a two-time dunk champion, and Mac McClung is in that same conversation, but he's not even in the NBA. He's not on the NBA roster per se. Like, he's in the G League, but he's not on the NBA roster, and that's not a big deal, but it's letting you know how the game's going. You know, the guys who are there aren't really for that competitiveness of, I'm gonna go get the dunk contest. You know, the people who are of the lesser salaries or, you know, lesser popularity, it's an opportunity to make their names up. So give a shout out to Mac McClung for doing his thing. You know, he had some very impressive dunks. You know, being 6'2", some of the dunks look way better when you're a little shorter. But he did what he's supposed to do. You know, he went in the lab, studied, and got better. Although he's a professional dunker to some degree, the NBA players should take some ownership of that. You know, take some ownership of knowing that this is your craft, and keep something going. He's got to start off by the dunk contest. You know, a lot of the fans, when dunks happen, they're just kind of like, ooh, and they just looking at ooh and ah, like there's no excitement, there's no energy going into this. So maybe from the TV's perspective, you don't really, it doesn't seem like these guys are happy a dunk's going on. It's just like, we just look at a 360 dunk like it's nothing now. Like, come on, guys. Like, not a lot of normal people can just dunk. Not a lot of normal people can even touch nets. And we looking at 360 dunks or 720 dunks, and you know, behind the dunks, like, oh, that's nothing. Like, that's where that becomes a problem, where you just start discrediting dunks that are very difficult to begin with. So we need to stop doing that. We need to stop doing that. We need to maybe put some more TikTok fans, or you know, everyday athletes or everyday fans in the front rows to really show some more excitement, because it looks dry. It looks dry to see somebody do an amazing dunk, and it's like everybody's just standing there looking around like, okay, cool, good job, I can't wait to go to the club. Like, it's nonsense, and I think that's a part of what needs to be better with the NBA dunk contest. All right, furthermore, in the NBA All-Star game, you know, it was lackluster. You know, they did break some records. You know, scoring at 211 points in the All-Star game was, you know, a broken record. It was a record breaker, which, as you can see, as the game continues to develop, more and more records will be broken. Damian Lillard came off with the MVP. I think Tyrese Halliburton probably should have really got it. Damian Lillard hit some nice, impressive shots down the stretch. But just kind of like, I mean, he was a competitor. So again, you know, I think Tyrese Halliburton might have thought it was sweet. It was going to be handed to him, but he didn't really show that he really wanted to go get it as far as well as Dame did. So kudos to Dame. Congratulations to him on his MVP in the All-Star game. But just watching the game, you know, certain ways you can incentivize the game. You know, they have incentives on contracts. If you want to build in incentives, if you're an all-star, you get a $1 million bonus if your team wins the all-star game. I mean, put incentives in the contracts. You know, not taking away from your regular, but if you become an MVP or if you become an NBA all-star and your team wins the all-star game, you get $1 million. Come on now. Like, guys are going to want to play harder. If it's not $1 million, you can bring it down 500, 200K. I don't really care. You can incentivize that inside the contracts. To put those in contracts and make it better for the fans. The next piece you could also do is you could, you know, put it into a pot. You can take that money, put it into a pot where the incentives come out of, you know, the East and the West, and you put it into a very big pot and kind of pile it up, or even vote. I don't really care, but you can incentivize it in different strategies where the pot looks bigger. You know, it's a $10 million, it's a $30 million pot where winner takes all. Incentivize it, okay? The next piece, someone spoke on was, you could, you know, the All-Star game can have, you know, my five versus your five. You can have my five versus your five, whether it be the starting five going against the East West best five, and you know, they got a target score. Whoever wins advances to the second quarter or the third quarter to play. Kind of like a weird little round robin within the East and West, where the East plays the East and the West plays the West, but the East could end up playing the East in the fourth quarter to win the whole thing. I know it sounds pretty confusing, but it's pretty much 5 versus 5. You win the target score. The next set of 5 plays, you win the next target score. The winner plays that winner. Winner keeps going. You know, the losers get to play, but they're not really playing for nothing significant in that All-Star game. They're just playing to just go get buckets and maybe MVP. Another way to really incentivize it. But the biggest thing is that the NBA has to do a better job with these games. You know, it's just tough for me to look at. You know, NASCAR races drive at 140 miles per hour. 140, 160 miles per hour. And then you got Formula One, who on average is about 200 miles per hour, right? Imagine paying your hard-earned money to go watch, you know, a Formula One versus NASCAR race or something like that. They modify it, and they driving just as fast as me on the expressway, 80 to 100 miles per hour. I don't break speed limit, just giving a rough guesstimate. You see how much of a drop that is? No one's coming to watch a NASCAR driver drive 100 miles per hour. You know, the speed of the game is what they're coming to. The reason why they took their hard-earned cash and decided I'm going to make sure that I go to this game is because they want to see the entertainment that they have that's expected throughout the season. That is something that the NBA has to do a better job in. And if you have anything to say, maybe you might have a better suggestion than I have. It's just, we gotta stop this. Competitiveness is not a bad thing in the NBA or in NFL. You know, injuries are going to happen, and we want to prevent them within reason. But we got to stop trying to water down a game to help us feel better about ourselves. You know, the game is the game, and we need to play it to the fullest within itself. So that's what I got to say about the NBA All-Star game, the NBA All-Star week. A lot of hype, but it was probably one of the worst ones to really speak of. So anyway, done with that nonsense. Lastly, we're going to look at the Kawhi watch. You know,